Just thought I'd let you know. Chloe smirked, crossing her arms and looking down her nose at me. James asked me to watch his practice from the sidelines today. You know, where the actual partners sit, so you can stop hovering around him and your brother. You're just a distraction. I don't hover, I said, my voice icy, though my chest burned with a fresh wave of jealousy. Whatever you say, freshman. Just know your place. A low-tier Omega like you doesn't belong in his orbit. Before I could reply, a heavy door down the hall slammed open. James stepped out of the men's locker room, his gym bag slung over his shoulder. He took one look at Chloe, then at my tense posture, and his jaw instantly clenched. He walked right past Chloe, completely ignoring her gasp of surprise, and stopped right in front of me.
"Zach's looking for you," James said softly, his dark eyes searching my face.
Then, without warning, he reached out, his large hand brushing a stray lock of hair behind my ear. His fingers lingered on my skin, firmly applying pressure to my scent gland, trying to coat me in a thick layer of his pine and woods pheromones. Usually, my inner Omega would melt, but today, I was furious. I slapped his hand away from my neck with a loud, harsh smack. James froze, his eyes widening in pure shock. No one slapped an alpha's hand away, let alone a small Omega. Don't touch me, James, I snapped, giving him the coldest glare I could muster.
"Lily," he started, his voice dropping an octave.
A tone of utter despair creeping in. It was the first time I resisted like that. I always end up purring into his touch, even when I deny his pushy advances, but now I have to learn to resist. James, Chloe gasped from behind him, her voice high and insulted. Are you serious right now? With her? James cold-shouldered her, not even turning around.
"Go to class, Chloe. Keep your mouth shut around my business."
When he turned back to me, I didn't give him the satisfaction of a conversation. I rolled my eyes, turned on my heel, and walked away, completely ignoring him calling my name. For the next 2 days, I went completely radio silent on him. Whenever James came over to the apartment to see Zach, I ignored him. If he passed me a glass of water, I left it on the counter. If he tried to catch my eye across the living room, I stared directly at my phone. I could feel his heavy, frustrated gaze burning into the side of my face, his scent flaring in agitation every time I brushed him off, but I didn't care. To make matters worse for his alpha pride, I started spending every free second with my best friend, Mike. Mike was a beta, sweet, funny, and completely safe. He didn't have a territorial bone in his body, which made him the perfect escape from alpha drama.
So then the professor literally fell out of his chair, Mike laughed.
Slinging a casual arm over my shoulder as we walked across a quad toward the stadium. I laughed loudly, intentionally leaning into his side. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a familiar tall figure standing by the athletic buses. James. He was staring directly at Mike's arm around my shoulder. His knuckles were white against his gym bag, his entire body rigid with dark, simmering fury. A beta was touching his Omega, and it was driving him absolutely feral. I looked right at James, gave him a petty, dismissive shrug, and pulled Mike closer as we headed up toward the bleachers. Let him stew in his mixed signals. Chapter 6. By the afternoon, James was completely at his breaking point. I was sitting high up on the stadium bleachers with Mike, pretending to look at notes while the team ran their drills. I could feel James's eyes on me from the turf below. He wasn't even paying attention to the coach. When practice finally ended, Mike stretched and stood up. Hey, Lil, I'm gonna hit the restroom before our next lecture. Want me to grab you a soda? Sure, thanks, Mike, I smiled. The moment Mike walked down the stadium stairs and disappeared around the corner, a massive shadow fell over me. I didn't even have to look up to know who it was. The suffocating, aggressive wave of pine and fresh woods was completely overwhelming. James was standing right in front of my bench, still in his football pads, his chest heaving as he panted from practice. His face was set in a dark, feral scowl.
"Get your things. We're leaving," James commanded,
His alpha tone sending a dangerous shiver straight down my spine. I clamped my jaw shut, refusing to let him see me shake. I slowly turned a page in my textbook, completely ignoring him.
"Lily, I said we're leaving," he growled.
Stepping closer, his shadow completely blocking the sun.
"And you're going to tell your beta friend to keep his hands off you. I'm sick of watching him touch what belongs to me."
That was the final straw. I slammed my textbook shut, the loud noise echoing in the empty bleachers as I stood up to face him. What belongs to you? I yelled, my voice cracking with all the pent-up anger of the last few weeks. I don't belong to you, James. You don't get to act like a possessive psycho because another guy walks me to class when you're busy giving your varsity jacket to Chloe. James blinked, his rigid, angry posture faltering for a fraction of a second.
Which?
Don't play dumb, I snapped, tears of pure frustration and jealousy finally pricking the corners of my eyes. You want me to stop ignoring you? Fine. I'm ignoring you because I'm sick of your mixed signals. You tell me I'm yours in the dark, but during the day, you let Chloe stroke your clothes. You let her broadcast to the whole campus that you bought her coffee, and you let everyone say you two are going to pair up. If you want her so badly, go be with her and leave me alone. The entire stadium felt completely still. James stared at me, his dark eyes wide as he processed my breathless. Slowly, the dark, feral anger vanished from his face. A look of sudden, profound realization took its place, followed by a soft, breathless chuckle that completely threw me off.
You're jealous, James murmured, stepping even closer.
The tension melting out of his broad shoulders. I am not, I lied desperately, wiping a stray tear from my cheek and grabbing my backpack. I'm leaving. Before I could take a step, James's large hand wrapped gently but firmly around my wrist. He didn't pull me harshly. Instead, he used his grip to guide me down the bleacher stairs and into the quiet, completely shadowed hallway beneath the concrete stadium structure. He pushed me gently against the wall, trapping me with his body, but the suffocating, angry aura he had earlier was entirely gone. It was replaced by a warm, incredibly sweet, and comforting wave of his pheromones.
Lily, look at me, he whispered hoarsely.
Lifting my chin with his fingers so I was forced to meet his eyes.
I don't want Chloe. I've never wanted Chloe. I bought the team. Coffee after morning lifts, and she grabbed one, and she's been twisting it to get to you because she knows I only have eyes for you.
My heart hammered against my ribs. Then why didn't you push her away at the mixer?
Because Zach was standing right next to me.
And if I caused a scene with Chloe, Zach would ask questions I wasn't ready to answer. James explained softly.
His gaze dropping to my lips before locking back onto mine, completely full of raw devotion.
I was losing my mind watching her touch my jacket, because the only person I want touching me is you. I want you, Lily. I've wanted you since the second I accidentally walked into your room 3 years ago. Please stop looking at Mike. Stop ignoring me. It's killing me.
Hearing his confession, all the anger, doubt, and jealousy inside me completely evaporated. My inner Omega purred deeply, completely pacified by his honesty. Okay, I breathed, a small smile finally breaking through my tears. I believe you. James let out a massive, ragged sigh of relief, burying his face into the crook of my neck, inhaling my scent as if he had been starving for it.
God, thank you, he mumbled against my skin.
Before pulling back and capturing my lips in a deep, slow, incredibly sweet kiss that solidified everything. But, I whispered against his lips as we pulled apart, we still have to hide this from Zach, just for now. Anything you want, Lily, he murmured, kissing my forehead. From that day on, all the uncertainties completely vanished, replaced by the most exhilarating, sweet, and romantic months of my life. We became experts at sneaking around, turning our secret relationship into a beautiful, little world meant only for the two of us. Because we couldn't risk Zach seeing James's name on my phone, James made another account. Every afternoon, he would send a single period to let me know the coast was clear. We found a tiny, dimly lit cafe miles away from the university district. Tucked away from the student crowd, we would spend hours in the back booth, sharing pastries, laughing over silly campus gossip, and holding hands under the table. James was completely different when we were alone. The stoic, untouchable alpha facade completely dropped. He was incredibly gentle, always pulling me onto his lap or leaning down to press soft, sweet kisses to the crown of my head. Whenever he came over to the apartment to watch sports with Zach, we played our parts perfectly, but with a thrilling twist. While Zach was yelling at the TV, James would casually stretch his leg out under the coffee table, his sneaker gently rubbing against mine. If Zach left the room to grab snacks, James would instantly dart across the room, press a breathless, passionate kiss to my lips, and slide back to his seat just as the fridge door closed, leaving me flushed and smiling. He took care of me completely. He kept track of my calendar, buying my favorite brand of suppressants ahead of time so I would never run out again. During the weekends when his roommates were away, he would take me to his apartment, cook me elaborate dinners, and wrap me in his varsity jacket, happily scent-marking me until I felt completely safe and cherished. We were completely, deeply in love. And for a while, the secrecy felt like our own beautiful adventure, but a shift in the wind was coming. Chapter 8. A few weeks later, a strange, heavy lethargy settled over my bones. At first, I thought it was just the stress of studying for final exams while maintaining our secret. But then, the smell of Zach's morning coffee started making my stomach churn violently. I was constantly freezing, and my inner Omega was throwing quiet, needy tantrums inside my chest, demanding to be wrapped in James's specific pine and woods scent every single second of the day. On a quiet Sunday morning, Zach and James were in our kitchen, making breakfast before an early morning weightlifting session. I dragged my feet out of my bedroom, wearing one of James's oversized hoodies that I had smuggled home, my hair a messy nest. "Morning, sleepyhead," Zach cheered, flipping a pancake onto a plate. "Get some food. We're leaving for the gym in 10. "I'm just gonna grab some water," I mumbled, walking past them toward the sink, intentionally trying to keep a normal distance so Zach wouldn't suspect anything. But the exact moment I stepped into James's personal space, he froze. The water bottle he was holding slipped from his fingers, hitting the hardwood floor with a loud, echoing clank. "James, you good, man?" Zach asked, looking up from the stove with a frown. James didn't even hear his best friend. His nostrils flared violently, his dark eyes snapping to me with a look of pure, unadulterated shock. The air in the kitchen suddenly grew heavy, suffocatingly warm, as his alpha instinct spiked out of nowhere. Before I could even register his expression, James took 2 massive steps forward. Completely ignoring Zach, he reached out, wrapped his large hands around my waist, and pulled me flush against his broad chest. "James, what the hell are you doing?" Zach shouted, his beta instincts finally flaring into protective anger as he slammed his spatula down on the counter. James completely ignored him. He buried his face deep into the crook of my neck, right over my scent gland, inhaling so deeply his chest expanded against mine. When he pulled back, his hands were trembling violently against my hips, his eyes wide and glittering with an overwhelming mixture of awe, tears, and absolute feral possessiveness. "Lily," James whispered, his voice cracking with pure emotion, entirely loud enough for the whole room to hear. "Your scent, it's changed. It's milk and honey. You're carrying my pup." The kitchen went dead silent. My breath hitched. My hands instinctively flew to my stomach as the pieces of the puzzle instantly clicked into place. The missed cycle, the morning nausea, the intense, primal craving to be near him. I was pregnant. "What?" Zach's voice dropped to a deadly, horrified whisper from behind us. He walked slowly around the counter, his face completely pale as his eyes darted between James's gripping hands on my waist and my wide, terrified eyes. "James, tell me you didn't." James didn't back down. For the first time in months, he didn't hide. He stepped firmly in front of me, shielding my body entirely with his own, his eyes locking onto his best friend with absolute certainty. "I did," James declared, his voice ringing with pure alpha authority and pride. "She's my mate, Zach. I love her, and I'm not hiding it for another second." Epilogue. The fallout was chaotic at first. Zach lunged across the kitchen table, throwing a blind, furious punch that connected squarely with James's jaw. James didn't even try to dodge it. He took the hit, stumbled back, and immediately stood right back up in front of me, refusing to raise a hand against his best friend. It took weeks of icy silence, long, tearful family meetings with my parents, and James practically begging on his knees to prove his devotion. He brought my father his official medical and financial records, showing he was already looking at apartments and setting up a savings account for the baby. Seeing the fierce, unyielding protectiveness and absolute love in the eyes of the campus's most untouchable alpha, Zach finally cracked. "If you ever make her cry," Zach growled, his eyes bloodshot as he pointed a finger at James's chest, "I don't care if you're an alpha, I will end you." James just gripped Zach's hand, his expression entirely serious. "I'd let you." The next few months were a whirlwind of beautiful, domestic bliss that made every ounce of past angst completely worth it. James became utterly insufferable in the sweetest way possible. He banned me from carrying my own backpack on campus. He walked me to every single class, his arm wrapped tightly around my waist, proudly projecting his scent so the entire university knew exactly who I belonged to. Chloe tried to glare at me once in the quad, but James gave her a look so cold and dismissive that she practically vanished from our lives forever. Before my belly even began to show, James took me back to that hidden, dim-lit cafe where we used to hide in the shadows. But this time, we didn't sit in the back, under the soft glow of the patio fairy lights. In front of everyone, James dropped to one knee. He held a velvet box containing a stunning, thick diamond ring. "No more hiding, Lily," he said, his dark eyes bright with unshed tears as he looked up at me. "I want to spend the rest of my life making up for every second I made you doubt how much I want you. Marry me." "Yes," I sobbed, throwing my arms around his neck as the restaurant erupted into applause. By the time our beautiful baby girl was born, we had moved into a sunlit, cozy 2-bedroom apartment just 5 minutes from campus. I sat on the rocking chair in the nursery, watching James sway gently in the center of the room. Our daughter was nestled against his massive chest, looking impossibly tiny against his broad shoulders. He was humming a soft melody, his large hand gently supporting her head, his pine and wood scent dialed down to a warm, comforting purr that wrapped around the three of us like a blanket. He looked up, catching me watching him, and flashed that lazy, devastating smirk, the same one from the supply closet, only this time it was filled with pure, unadulterated devotion. We had survived the dark, the secrets, and the shadows. And looking at my little family, I knew I would live through it all over again just to end up right here.